Ukraine annihilates Russia's IL-78. Tankers in minutes, $2 billion gone instantly. In one of the most consequential nights of the war, Ukraine executed a precision operation that didn't just hit aircraft. It severed the backbone of Russia's long-range strike power in under a single minute. 2 IL-78 refueling tankers, assets Moscow considered untouchable, were destroyed in a meticulously planned ambush that outsmarted Russia's most advanced defenses. The attack triggered a domino effect across Russia's military structure, forcing emergency relocations, international panic, and a historic shift in air power balance. To understand how one operation reshaped an entire theatre of war, the story begins from the first moment of the night. Today at 11:58 p.m, the final minutes of the day unfolded with a chain of events that would cost Russia more than $2 billion and shatter one of the most protected branches of its military aviation. What Moscow expected to be a flawless night of dominance instead became a defining moment in modern warfare, a moment in which one Ukrainian decision overturned decades of Russian air power strategy. The night began with confidence in the Kremlin, but it ended with 2 destroyed IL-78 refueling aircraft, multiple bombers lost, and a sudden collapse in Russia's long-range strike capability. A few minutes earlier, by 11:50 p.m, Russian bombers crossed the border, returning from a strike that had inflicted severe damage on Ukrainian infrastructure, including supply depots and radar stations. The estimated losses approached $2 billion, a blow designed to demonstrate Russian control of the night sky. Pilots celebrated over secure radio, reporting mission success and preparing to return to base. For Russia's command structure, the operation appeared complete. But for Ukraine, this was the moment the real operation began. 1 week earlier, Ukraine's leadership had issued a publicly stated doctrine. For every strategic loss Ukraine suffers, Russia will lose an equivalent strategic asset. Russian military officials dismissed it as political rhetoric. Ukrainian planners treated it as a binding operational framework. That framework shaped the entire course of what followed. It determined how Ukraine tracked the bombers, mapped their refueling schedules, monitored support aircraft, and prepared a counterstrike designed not for retaliation alone, but for long-term strategic paralysis. At 12:03 a.m, 2 IL-78 refueling aircraft descended toward their predetermined refueling altitude of 15,000 feet above Belarusian airspace. These aircraft serve as the backbone of Russia's long-range aviation. Without them, Russian Tu-95 and Tu-160 bombers cannot extend deep strike missions or return safely from long-range cruise missile operations. Each tanker enables strikes thousands of kilometers beyond Russian borders. They are rare assets, a small fleet of operational tankers, and protected by layered air defense networks, including S-400 surface-to-air systems and Pantsir close-range defense vehicles. Russia believed these shields made the tankers untouchable, but Ukrainian planners had studied the rhythm of their flights for days. They identified the precise window when descent to refueling altitude would temporarily reduce radar coverage and increase vulnerability. That window became the foundation of the Ukrainian operation. At 12:05 a.m, the first phase began. Dozens of small, low-cost drones emerged on Russian radar, flying towards Belarusian airspace at high speed. Their role was not destruction, but disruption. They forced the defending S-400 crew to respond immediately. High-value interceptors launched in rapid succession. Nearby Pantsir units opened fire, emptying ammunition in seconds. The engagement response matched the expected script, depleting ready interceptors. The weapons fired were worth millions. The drones they targeted were expendable. The S-400 battery assigned to protect the tankers depleted its ready-to-fire missiles within minutes. As the crew scrambled to reload, the defensive bubble over the refueling corridor thinned. Russian pilots remained confident, unaware that the threats they had repelled were decoys, and that the real attack had not yet begun. At 12:07 a.m, 4 Ukrainian strike drones rose from their low-altitude approach path. For more than 48 hours, they had stayed beneath the radar line, navigating terrain and evading detection. Now they ascended toward their targets with pre-assigned attack profiles. Each operator had one target and one opportunity. The Russian formation was steady, a lead tanker in position, bombers lined behind it awaiting fuel. The first Ukrainian drone laser designated the left engine of the lead IL-78. A missile released instantly. It traveled silently towards the turbine and struck with precision. The engine failed, pushing the massive aircraft into a sudden drop. Within seconds, another drone targeted the refueling umbilical, severing the hose connecting tanker to bomber. Fuel erupted into the cold air, forming a vapor cloud hundreds of meters wide. A third missile ignited the cloud. The explosion that followed was far larger than the warhead itself because the dispersed fuel acted as an accelerant. The tanker's fuselage tore apart mid-air, its structure collapsing under the shockwave. One of the Russian bombers, caught too close to the blast, spiraled downward, unable to recover. By 12:08 a.m., the refueling formation had disintegrated, but the operation had a secondary objective. The trailing tanker attempted evasive maneuvers, trying to reposition out of the blast path. A fourth Ukrainian drone closed in and released a final missile directly into the right wing tank. The resulting fire engulfed the aircraft, breaking the wing structure and sending the tanker into uncontrolled descent. 2 tankers were destroyed, 2 bombers were lost, and the entire sequence lasted less than 60 seconds. Russian escort fighters reacted immediately. They launched missiles towards the presumed direction of the attackers, but smoke, debris, and jamming and clutter obscured every lock. The Ukrainian drones dropped back to ultra-low altitude, disappearing once more from detection. One drone lagged a fraction too long, its heat signature briefly visible. A Russian pilot switched from missile to cannon, dove into the tree line, and fired. The drone disintegrated, Ukraine's only loss of the mission. By 12:12 a.m., the sky was quiet again. But the consequences continued to unfold. With 2 IL-78s destroyed, Russia's long-range strike capability took an immediate strategic hit. The remaining tankers, already in limited numbers, received emergency orders to relocate thousands of kilometers east, out of any conceivable Ukrainian operational radius. This relocation crippled Russia's ability to launch long-range missile barrages. Targets deep inside Ukraine that had been reachable hours earlier now required fuel that Russia could no longer supply. The cost of the operation, when tallied by internal Russian command later that day, exceeded $2 billion, including the tankers, bombers, munitions, and support equipment lost. But Ukraine did not stop with the aerial strike. Within hours, follow-on operations targeted Russian infrastructure tied directly to long-range aviation and weapons production. Oil refineries supporting tanker operations came under coordinated attack. Electronics manufacturing centers involved in drone guidance systems were struck. Rail substations essential for military logistics were disabled. Each strike followed a strategic logic. Remove the support network that enables Russia to project force. The follow-on phase signaled a consistent logic. Escalation would be met not with symbolic retaliation, but with precise, systemic dismantling of military capability. Russian leadership responded with urgent measures. In the following days, Moscow approved a policy shift it had avoided for years: the deployment of North Korean personnel to reinforce weakened sectors and assist in rebuilding damaged infrastructure. This move signaled strain inside Russia's military structure, raising concerns among regional powers. South Korea and Japan began emergency consultations, evaluating how the presence of North Korean forces in a European theater might destabilize East Asian security. NATO states also assessed the implications. Ukraine's operation demonstrated that low-cost systems, when coordinated effectively, could neutralize high-value strategic assets. The United States and Poland announced accelerated reinforcement programs, providing long-range precision missiles and a new wave of combat drones optimized for survivability in contested airspace. European defense ministers emphasized that Russia must now be considered a sustained adversary rather than a temporary threat. By the early morning hours, it was clear that the night's events had reshaped more than a battlefield. They had altered geopolitical calculations across multiple regions. The loss of Russia's tankers created an operational blackout that forced Russia to reconfigure its long-range aviation doctrine. Meanwhile, Ukraine's use of precision drones highlighted the shift toward cheaper, smarter tools, capable of unbalancing larger forces. Today, as military analysts review the sequence from the initial Russian strike to the destruction of the tankers, the outcome is clear. Ukraine achieved a decisive strategic victory with a fraction of the cost Russia invested. And Russia, once confident in its air defense superiority, now faces a diminished ability to launch deep-range attacks. The fires above Belarus eventually faded, but their consequences continue to spread through command centers, alliances, and strategic doctrines. The sequence underscored a broader operational truth. In modern warfare, the side with adaptable strategy and precision tools holds the advantage over the side relying solely on scale. And as both militaries prepare for the next phase, one question defines the uncertainty ahead. After this loss of long-range reach, how will Russia attempt to rebuild its ability to strike deep again? Let us know in the comments section below.